Point Blank takes an exclusive look at one of the most severe vegetation fires, the Bukit Batok fire. We check out the challenges firefighters face and one of their bushfire weapons. Hi, I'm Tracy and you're watching Point Blank. I'm right here at Bukit Batok Fire Station, and about 9 days ago, SCDF personnel here were activated to tackle what was probably the most challenging vegetation fire. Now we'll be taking an exclusive look into what happened, so follow me. On 16th February, residents near Bukit Batok West Avenue 3 were stunned to see this scene as they looked out of their windows. The fire broke out in two areas that day, each the size of half a basketball court on top of a hill that was 400 meters long and 50 meters high, which is about as tall as a 17-story HDB block. It took firefighters 5 hours to fully extinguish the blazes, but the very next day, the rescue team had to return to the hill when 4 new bushfires started. The entire fire battle on top of the Bukit Batok hill took 4 days and 3 nights. The unusually hot and dry weather in the last several weeks had meant that bushfires were an everyday affair, but this fire was unique. Lightning was believed to have caused the fire. And what was worse was the blaze started on top of a steep hill. Wow, what an aftermath after 4 days and 3 nights of firefighting. Here with me is actually Colonel Francis, and he's going to share with us a little bit about what happened. So from what I understand is that very night, the very first night, actually it was raining. What's going through your head when you saw the rain? And
the rain actually stops. Yeah, the rain stops around 5. Yeah, the rain came in the afternoon, it stops around 5. Then I'm thinking, hey man, it's raining, no more bushfires in 4th Division or even in Singapore, so we are quite happy. Me and my guy was actually having a meeting in my conference room, so I look out window, so we are quite happy. But unfortunately, at about 5 o'clock, we received a call. There's a fire on top. There's a fire right on top of this Bukit Batok hill. I'll call this Bukit Batok hill for ease of reference. It cannot be. So I look out from my window. I say, hey, actually there's smokes coming out. Yeah, like some smoke signal from some in the past. So I mean, I'm thinking, hey, it cannot be. Maybe it's not so serious. Maybe because at that time it was still drizzling. So maybe the drizzle will be able to put out a fire, but unfortunately it's not the case. So the rain stopped and the fire actually grew bigger when it reaches about 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock at night. Yeah.
So when you arrived here first with about 10 men, and then you knew that you had to actually set the different strategies in place.
Yes.
But what was your most headache that you felt needed immediate attention? Because I mean sometimes from a terrain here, seeing it so dense, it may not be so apparent. So what was going through your mind when you first got here?
Yeah, actually the thing that concerned me the most is the night is coming, nightfall is coming, and it's a nightfall, of course, is much more difficult to reach the side of the fire, especially with such a very rough terrain, rough and primary terrain. But our first idea was still to try our very best to get at least 1 or 2 jets out there to tackle the fire. Yeah, because looking at the fire, which is not even at that point in time when it started, it's not even smoldering. That means you actually can see open flame. The thing was actually burning quite brightly. I think the greatest difficulty we have or we faced in the first day is accessibility. This is unlike any bushfire that we go to, where you actually goes there, you see the fire, you take the water, and then you put it out. This basically, the first thing is how even to get close to the fire, to actually fight the fire. And as you can see behind me, basically this forest here is a primary forest. It means that nobody has gone in before. There's no clear path to the top. There's lots of undergrowth, such branches, vine, and of course the gradient, as you can see, is actually quite steep. Ranges from maybe 40 to 70 degree. What we did, first of all, is try to actually mark out a path to the top. That actually took us quite a fair bit of time because we tried several paths and it was blocked halfway. And eventually, we actually managed to find an access route, but that alone actually took us about half an hour to actually reach the top. After we reached the top, we assessed, okay, this is a good path. We mark out the path. Next plan of action was actually to bring out the hoses, the firefighting equipment to the top to fight the fire. And we had to start to lay the hose all the way from the bottom, which is about 50 meters from the road to the top of the hill. And we had to join the hoses all the way in order to reach the fire. And some of the area was so steep, we actually had to set out ropes, using ropes, tie them from tree to tree so that we can guide our people along. We had to pitch a ladder or two for the people to step onto the ladder for ease of movements to climb to the top. Yeah.
But then, okay, you mentioned your concern was really nightfall.
Yes.
But unfortunately, your fears did come true because the whole battle of the blaze actually ended up in night. So what did that pose actually? Yeah. Can you describe a bit about what you all had to do?
Okay, what we did is that no choice, we actually had to set out a lighting system, a flight light system. We had to caution the guys to be very careful, because this is a terrain that they are not used to at all. This is something new to many people. Even after the fire, I've spoken to some of my more senior firefighters, which have been fighting fire for 20 and 30 years. And they can tell me, hey sir, this is the first time that I actually fight such a fire before. Yeah, so this is very new to all of us. So we caution them, you go out, you got to work in section, you got to work in team, you got to look out for each other. We lay some cables, set out some lighting system using cables, some lighting at some of the junctions. We also set out this flight light on the road, but such lighting will not be adequately cover the whole area because it's too large and the tree covering is still too dense. So the guys have actually had to bring along their own personal torchlight and of course their handheld torchlight, in order to move around. But safety is actually one of our primary concerns. And constantly at every one time, I actually have an officer to station here. Here was actually where we are standing here, the 12th floor of block 127. It's actually my observation post. So constantly, I actually have an operation officer standing down here to basically have a good view on the whole site and to maintain a radio communications with the various sector commanders working on the hill. The officer standing here actually have a dual purpose. Firstly, of course, he will ensure the safety of the people working on the site. And second, also quite importantly, he also acts as a fire spotter. Yeah, he will tell, because he has a better view out here, and he able to see maybe some of the flame, some of the smoke that comes out from a certain place. So he will direct the officers to go to the locations. Because once you're in there, especially at night, it's very difficult for you to actually spot the fire. I was in there myself, and you can have a person standing maybe 5 meters away, and you can't even see him at all. All you can see is trees, shadows, things like that. Yeah, so it's quite difficult. So basically, first he will actually identify which sector the smoke or the fire he has seen. Okay, for example, let's say he see the fire is at sector 2. Okay, sector 2 at the bottom. Sector 2 at the bottom. Then he will actually he will actually have to assign who is actually working at sector 2 right now. He'll get in touch with the sector 2 commander. Yeah, I say, okay, sector 2 commander, can you tell me your location by shining your torch towards the block? So he'll shine his torch towards the block. Then I can actually know where you are. So okay, the other hand of after that I will say, okay, about 10 meters to your left or to your right, there's a spot with the seaweed spots coming out. Can you please go and investigate, and if it's actually a fire, put out the fire. Yeah, we even throughout the 3 or 4 days we are here, we are constantly doing such things.
I think previously when we were chatting, you used the term that the guys out there were actually like fireflies.
Yes,
was it really like that?
Yeah, actually in fact at night, if you've been here for the past 3 nights, all you can see is lights moving, and those lights is actually the helmet lights of my firefighters. So the whole thing actually looked quite spectacular. You can actually see the whole hills with maybe about 50 people just moving along the hills. A lot of logistic challenge comes in the second day because the area operation in the second day was much bigger. Okay, 4 separate location of fire, and the total locations, what I will put is around 400 meters across and around 70 meter wide. Yeah, and it stretches from one end to the other end. So basically, we have to have 4 point of entry. Yeah, because 1 point we realized that it's just not enough. We cannot just enter by 1 point alone. Okay, 4 point entry. We need tap water for 5 hydrants and bringing the number of hoses out to the on top of the hilltop. For these 4-point entries is already quite substantial. For the second fire, our manpower handling this was 150 as compared to the first day. First day was only about half, that's about 70. And another big challenge was we know that we are here for the long haul. This is going to be a day and night operations. Although we managed to put out the flame very fast for the both day. Like for the second day, we have a fire call at 1:30, and by about 6 o'clock, we actually managed to bring the fire under control. What I mean that the fire under control means that you will not be able to see any open flame anymore. That means there's no open fire that you can see. However, the great challenge comes is to put out the ember. Because if we do not put out the ember properly or sufficiently, the fire will rekindle again. And this ember is quite difficult to put out because a lot of them are de-seated. They get found under the log, under the burnt timbers, on the ground, the leaf, under your foot. So we actually basically had to wet the place, turn the log over, dig the place out to make sure we get to this ember. And that requires a lot of massive manpower and equipment to do so. And we know that it can't be done even over a period of 1 day or 1 night. Yeah, so we know that we're going to be here for the long haul. Yeah, so basically we have to work out a shift system where people actually work on shift because we can't commit everybody there in one shot. They have to work in a shift system or 3-hour shift. So basically the people will go climb out the hill, they will stay there for 3 hours. Later they come out, take their rest, and another group of people will go out. At any one time, our strategy is to man 11 38 hose line, 11 numbers of 38 hose line. Yeah, in order to cover the whole area. Yeah, and our greatest fear, of course, is the fire spreading towards the Bukit Batok roadside. Yeah, that is the other side of the hill. Yeah. Fortunately, because our effective firefighting systems, our strategy that we actually prevent it from occurring.
So, all your men, up to 150 men at one point, had to also basically operate and work with the residents. How are the residents here coping with your presence?
I think by and large, the residents was actually quite excited about the fire here. I would say that because most of the time we have bushfires, but the bushfires are mainly out of away from residential area. Quite fortunate because the smoke will be much worse if they blow towards a residential area. So in this case, this is the first time I think they see such a spectacular fire. And we also interview residents who stay here for a long time. Even when this place, around this locality was still a kampong. So this corridor on the first night, second night, this corridor you're standing down here right now, everybody was standing now, taking pictures, snapping their cameras away. They bring children along, and many of them actually don't even stay in this block. The lift was actually quite crowded. They actually constantly bring people out here to look at the fires. By and large, I would say that the resident was actually quite supportive because our resource area was in fact at the foot of this block, at the void deck of 127. We've been here for about 3 nights, 4 days. Yeah, the residents actually pass by, and after the second, third day, they still see us, and they actually come and ask us how we are, and quite glad that some actually express their gladness that after the second day they don't see smoke anymore. They say, hey, the smoke is already out, the fire is out, how come you are still around? Yeah, why don't you go back and rest? Yeah, but I say that, because we are still here to ensure the fire do not rekindle again. So I think the residents, many of them are actually quite concerned for this. Yeah.
Was there also at any point there was concern for the residents? Because I also remember what you were saying that the winds were actually quite strongly here.
Precisely, yeah.
Were these people even concerned or affected by the smoke?
Some moments in time when the fire was still burning, the smoke did blow towards the block of that, but that was only for a very short period of time. I guess the spectacularest of looking at a fire is much more than the smoke that you breathe in. Fortunately, at night, the air here is quite still. So basically, the smoke will only blow towards the sky. It actually never affect the residents in this block. Yeah, so that was a good thing.
We are going to actually see what it's like on the ground. See you later.
Okay, thanks.